Hey, John, can you hear me?
No. He's not on the agenda, so. Yeah.
Yeah. The time is 4:30 p.m. The Pelican Rapids City Council meeting of 30 July 2024 is called to order. I ask those in our council chambers, if you have not signed on the clipboard by the back door, if you please do so before you leave. Also ask everyone to please put their phones on vibrate. Roll call of members. Danielle?
Councilmember Steve Strand.
Here.
Councilmember Kevin Ballard.
Here.
Councilmember Kurt Markgraf is on,
Here.
on Zoom, and Councilmember Steve Foster
Here.
and Mayor Brent Frazier.
Here. Want to welcome each and every one of you here to our council meeting this afternoon. Those in our council chambers, those joining us by Zoom, and please remember our city council meetings are shown on the Pelican Rapids YouTube channel and also on channel 14 on Wednesday evenings. Just a few announcements for the next month, in fact. Let's start out this Saturday, August 3rd is the fly-in drive-in at the Pelican Rapids Airport from 8 to 11 a.m. Pelican Rapids Rotary will be serving breakfast out there. Tuesday, August 13th is the primary election in Minnesota. That means the same day, August 13th, the city council meeting has been canceled. There will be no city council meeting the second Tuesday of August. So that means our next city council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 27th, 4:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Hearing none, if we all please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 2 is citizens' comments. Anyone here in the council chambers, citizens' comments? Seeing none. Item number 3 is additions and deletions. I have 3 different items here. We're going to delete item 4C1, utility report from June 2024. Delete item 4C1, utility report of June 2024. Addition is number 18, Pelican Rapids Aquatic Center pay request number 13. That's item number 18, Pelican Rapids Aquatic Center pay request number 13. And another item to add is item number 19, Pelican Rapids Aquatic Center change request number 12. Item number 19 is Pelican Rapids Aquatic Center change request number 12. Move to approve with the creation and deletion of the 4C. Second. Motion second, discussion. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 4, approval of consent agenda, which I'll read. 4A is approval of council minutes from July 9th, 2024. 4B is approval of accounts payable listing. 4D is city office candidate filings open July 30th to August 13th. And 4E is household hazardous waste day, August 7th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Motion second, discussion, hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 5 is a Gerald C. Henry request, and we have a John Perlich on Zoom this evening, and he's going to address that. We also have our city attorney, Lindsay Forsgren, in our council chambers, and Jerry Henry is also here this evening. So John, do you want to address that at this point?
And yes, I'll be quick. I imagine that there's a time limit for addressing the council. First thing I want to say is thank you all for giving us your time. Jerry's there in the room, and he's the one that should probably be speaking about this far more than me. Can I ask if the screen is showing right now?
Yes, we can see it.
It should say, great. Pelican Rapids City Council. So I can't see your reactions, but I want to ask you all to just think about where you were and what you were doing 40 years ago. And my guess is, I really wish I were in the room, because I'm guessing there are some smiles on people's faces, because we were probably getting into a bit of trouble like I was 40 years ago. But it was a very different world. And what we were facing 40 years ago was a very different situation than what we face today in Pelican Rapids. And I'm bringing that up because Jerry Henry right now is dealing with what we would all have to agree is an easement. And it's an easement that relates to 9 Industrial Park Drive, Pelican Rapids. So you could see the address right there. But essentially, when Jerry started his 4 businesses now, there at 9 Industrial Park Drive, he was granted verbally an easement so that he could do his business. And unfortunately, what we're looking at right now is a situation that prevents Henry Building Systems, Attachments International, American Hydro Doors. It prevents Jerry from doing his business. And you can see this picture right now. Jerry might have other pictures that he's going to share, but unfortunately, the city made a decision to sell property that was immediately adjacent to 9 Industrial Drive. And I think the address, if I've got it correct, is 1 Industrial Drive. But you can kind of see what's going on right now on that property line. It's essentially become a dumping ground, and it prevents FedEx, UPS, any kind of semis from having any kind of access to Jerry's property. And so what I'm going to ask City Council to make a decision on today is either 1, rescind the sale of 1 Industrial Park, which was a sale that was approved by the city to Miguel Torres. I would suggest you can and are allowed to rescind that sale, or I would recommend that City Council zone an easement for Gerald Henry at 9 Industrial Park. So you've got 2 choices in front of you: either rescind the sale or create a formal zone for an easement, which was an easement by agreement. And again, the Minnesota Supreme Court defined easement as an interest in land possessed by another. And in this case, prior to the sale to Mr. Torres, it was a property owned by the city of Pelican Rapids. And anytime you're dealing with an easement, it grants the use of the land to anyone who needs access And as you could see from that picture that I was showing you, there's no way that Jerry can have anyone from FedEx, UPS, Postal Service, no one with a semi can get up into his area property unless that is removed and there's respect to this easement. Again, and what I would say is an easement of necessity, which is what we're talking about right now, is a legal right that allows someone to access another person's property, which prior to the sale to Mr. Torres would have been the city of Pelican Rapids. And I don't think the city of Pelican Rapids necessarily should have given that land anyway. So that's why you would rescind that purchase, or that sale rather. But the city of Pelican Rapids decided to give access to Mr. Torres. It's an easement of necessity is something that happens when by law it's essential for someone to be able to do business, to have access to that land. So again, city of Pelican Rapids gave this land up, which then prevented Jerry from being able to do business, have folks have access to his property. I think what we're dealing with here is definitely an easement of necessity agreement between Jerry Henry and city leaders 4 decades ago. And who would have thought we would be dealing with this right now, 40 years later? Unfortunately, times change, and an agreement that was made by basically shaking hands and by consensus is now something that we're having to revisit. And it should never have gotten to this point. So again, city of Pelican Rapids gave Jerry access to this 40 years ago. Now, city of Pelican Rapids sold this land. Now we're looking at Miguel Torres treating that property as a dumping ground. You could see the piles of soil, no ability for anyone to access Jerry's property. And I would argue that voiding that easement, which by sale of the property, that's essentially what Pelican Rapids has done. Voiding that easement is unorthodox, unconventional, unethical, unacceptable. And I think we have to rescind the sale, or we have to zone so that Jerry has access and his businesses have access to his property. At this point, I'm going to turn everything over to Jerry and others in the room, but the call for action for me is one of two things. Either the city needs to formally rescind the sale of One Industrial Park Drive, Pelican Rapids, which went to Miguel Torres. You are allowed the right, and council will agree with me on this. You are allowed the right to rescind that sale, or I think you need to create a formal zoning that allows for the easement so that Jerry can use his property, and that's the only other option that I can see. So,
Okay, thank you. Mr. Henry, do you have anything different to say than what has been said?
Well, I would ask only one,
Please address the microphone.
I would ask only one question that he may or may not have addressed. And that is, I don't know if it's you folks I should be addressing it to, or other people that help you do your planning and that for the future planning committee. And I never learned that this property was going to even be for sale until the gentleman that bought it from the city, or made arrangements to get it from the city, a week later. And yet I have use for it. And we were using it. And so I don't understand why they didn't take that into consideration, at least publicly letting it know that it's for sale, or arrangements could be made for that property. If you drive by my place now, you'll see a terrible mess how my employees have tried to park between the buildings now. And now one of our truck lines has refused to come in there because their trucks will not. They're used to coming in this end where the easement is and filling up and just going. They can no longer do that. So it's cost us a lot of money. During a couple of the rainstorms, I will tell you this, I've had to pull out UPS trucks and 2 semis. And as the mud builds up in that, we had it drained and we tried to take care of it nice. So that's my question. Why was it not publicly announced? And I would have had an opportunity to at least make an offer.
Okay, thank you.
That's,
Thank you.
I don't have anything else
Okay.
to say unless you have a question.
Lindsay. Could you address the situation?
I mean, to just sit here, go to my phone.
Yeah. Podium, please.
Oh, you mind done then?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I'm done.
she's gonna talk for now.
Oh,
You can just have a seat and
okay.
come back up if you need to. So the 2 options that are put before the city council are not options for the city council. There are references to an easement. However, there is no easement of record, which I am aware of. In order for these, an easement by necessity is a thing, and I have litigated over that. But that's the issue. An easement by necessity is generally something that warrants litigation because it's a problem. It's because there is no easement of record. And the landowner has to petition the court or the applicable governing body for that access for a court order or a recordable document to formalize that easement agreement. I was not alive 40 years ago, but 40 years ago, we still had to record things with the county recorder in order for land transactions to be valid. If there was a handshake agreement, I'm not saying that's not the case, but I'm saying that the city council can't do something about something it had no knowledge of. A handshake agreement is not any good with land transactions because the future owners would not be put on notice about those land issues. That's why they need to be recorded so that we can do title searches, that we can understand any easements, covenants, restrictions as it relates to real property. This is an issue between the landowners. Mr. Perlick, and I apologize if I say your last name wrong, referenced that the city sold, transferred, gave away this property to Mr. Torres several times, and that is absolutely correct. The city is no longer the title holder of this property. The city essentially has a remainder interest in that you have contracted with Mr. Torres, which is legal, a legal binding contract to allow Mr. Torres to do something with this land in the 18-month period. If he does not do anything in that 18-month period, he has to deed it back. So you're not in a position to rescind that sale. That's not something the city council can do. If the property owners work out an easement agreement, the city would have to sign off on that because you still have an interest in this property, but you cannot force Miguel Torres to give that easement. He has to do that himself through his business. I believe it was deeded to the LLC. So this is between property owners. I can't advise any of the property owners because I represent the city. The property owners should really get their own attorneys and get this figured out between each other because the city can really do nothing at this point.
John is raising his hand here. He's got something. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Lindsay, you in one sentence, you said that the 2 options in front of us are not possibilities. And then in your next breath, you basically pointed out that one of those options is a possibility. It is a potential, an opportunity for the city council to rescind that sale. And I don't know why you would say that both of the options that I put up there are not acceptable when in fact, the city council can say, you know what, we made that sale in a manner that was not best of interest for the city of Pelican Rapids. So therefore, we would like to rescind it. You know as well as I do that rescinding a sale is an acceptable opportunity. So when you say the options I put up there on the screen aren't okay or aren't acceptable, they are. And the one of rescinding the sale, city council can do that. So I really have no idea why you would say
Mr.
to
Perla,
city council, if you don't mind, if I would like to continue, I have no idea why you would say that that is not an option for the city council, because it is. And as I read the documents today, just an hour ago, that Mr. Waller provided, everything that was cited as a reason to make that sale to Mr. Torres would have been applicable to Jerry Henry. And furthermore, I've been made to believe that the public announcement of this land as being available was essentially a posting on the website. So there was no public declaration announcement. No one was ever given notice, hey, if you would like to buy this land, here's this land, here's how you go about buying it. It was just posted on the website. So I honestly think there are a lot of things about this transaction, and we could debate this for a long time if we wanted to. But it sounds like this is a piece of land that was given to someone who misrepresented themselves, that didn't really necessarily deserve this piece of land in the first place, which means city council can rescind that sale, and the public declaration of this land as being available is questionable at the very least. So Lindsay, I'm so sorry to take up so much time, but I would love to hear your response.
Mr. Perla, are you an attorney?
I'm sorry. Please keep going.
Are you an attorney?
Lindsay, what do you want to say?
I just want to know if you're an attorney or not.
Lindsay, what do you want to say?
Okay. I'm gonna assume you're not an attorney, and you cannot just rescind a sale.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Mr. Perlick, I'm not here to argue.
City
or make
council,
any-
city
okay,
council,
hold on.
city council can rescind a sale if that sale was not made in the best interest of the city.
Lindsay has to say,
Lindsay, go ahead.
Thank you. So as I stated, the city signed a contract. The city entered a binding contract. You can't just rescind a sale. Can sales be rescinded? Yes, if the contract allows for it. The terms that were under here allow Mr. Torres 18 months to do something with this land. He hasn't done anything after 18 months. You get to take it back. That's what the contract says. This is an issue between property owners. And if Mr. Torres does something with this land or decides to give Mr. Henry an easement while he has ownership of this land, he can do that with city council approval. But you can't just rescind the sale.
Council?
Can I ask Lindsay?
Oh, wait. Let's bring it to the council. I guess we're just rehashing the same sentences over and over and over again. We know where it stands. Council? Yes.
I have a question. I've heard of laws where, you know, if there was a road that people used for a lot of years
Mhm.
and it wasn't their property, somehow it becomes a road legally. I mean, does that have any application here?
Yes and no. Like I said, that's that easement by necessity that Mr. Perlick was talking about. That's a prescriptive easement, and I have litigated those issues, and those are issues you have to take up with the court system or with the property owners, and you have to put something in place that legally makes that an easement. You don't just get an easement. You either have to get a court order or something signed by the property owner. So Mr. Henry could sue Mr. Torres for that easement by necessity. And he could deal with it in district court.
What was that word you used, Liz?
Prescriptive easement.
So you see this as an issue between the two parties
Absolutely.
of the
The
city?
city can't do anything. The city has no title.
Okay,
That would be like you, Mayor Fraser, signing off on an easement over my land.
yeah.
That's not allowed.
Any other comments from the council?
at the end of 18 months, if he hasn't fulfilled his obligations, then how do we take the land back? If that were the case.
You have to enforce the agreement, and if the contract, if he's not willing to sign that, then you might have to take some legal action to get that title back. But you have an enforceable contract in place that if he doesn't do it, if he doesn't fulfill his end of the contract, you get to reclaim possession of the land.
We had that happen with some apartment land. They had so many years to build apartments and they didn't, so it just automatically got it back. Right, Danielle?
When did he take? When did Mr. Torres take ownership of that or sign that contract?
I'm not sure, but I know it hasn't been 18 months yet.
It's somebody, my secretary and I were looking at this. I think the deed was signed in August of 23.
August 8th of 20, so February 8th of 2025.
And he hasn't done anything with it yet. Building seasons have already passed, so
And that's just, it has to be a substantially completed.
substantial completion
Yeah.
or showing efforts of
Yeah.
trying to get this done, good faith efforts of why he hasn't been able to get this done. It's essentially on him to hold up his end of the contract.
John has his hand up again if you want.
Okay, well, look. Kurt, this Kurt's online. Does he have any comments?
I would like.
My only question got answered as when Mr. Torres took control. That's the only question I have.
The only thing I would like to add is if Mr. Perlick has additional comments or questions for me, I would just like to remind him that I advise the city. And that if he and Jerry Henry have questions about how to get that access or that easement, he and Jerry Henry need to talk to their own attorney. I'm not here to debate or litigate. I'm here to advise the council.
And right now, we, the council, has been given the recommendation that this is between the two parties and we should not enter it. Yep.
John still has his hand up if you want to
Okay,
address.
I don't want to hear the same talk that we heard before. Something new we can listen.
So with one single access.
We have to address the microphone, please. Your name.
English. With one single access to an industrial planning. Is that going to affect the tax, since basically the land will become obsolescent, plus the buildings? So will that be, then will the property in essence be removed from the city's tax base? Because the use that is in place right now of that property will no longer be able to continue, and in fact, it's already been effective. So that value of the property is no longer the same. So not only for Mr. Henry's value of his property, but for tax base, won't that be cut to obsolescence to zero tax base? So that's maybe an option to go after. There's also takings. So the city could do a taking on Mr. Torres. I would be very interested in the terms of the purchase contract to double check to see if what Mr. Torres said to qualify, if those are actually in place. Because I had the unfortunate to do business with him and he has questionable business practices.
Okay, thank you. Council.
Take action on that. We didn't take action on.
No, we don't.
We have to do anything.
Right.
John still has his hand up, but I don't know if you want. Go ahead, John.
All right, thank you. And Lindsay, I really appreciate what you said at the end of your last comments about if we want to push this over to attorneys, we can do that. I guess my question is, how did we get here in the first place? In my opinion, as I look at the availability of this piece of land, It is posted on the website, not really announced publicly other than that. And my understanding is that Mr. Torres was given access to this land based upon falsehoods that were told to the city council. He misrepresented his relationship with Jerry, and that's how he got access to this in the first place. So I've got to say I agree with you in that we're now at a point where we're really looking at litigation, and we're looking at attorneys from two different standpoints or perspectives that are having to debate this. But I guess my question is, why did we get here in the first place? And can't we undo this? And I frankly, I hate to say this to you, but you're wrong. The city council has the right to rescind a sale if a sale was approved or given from a standpoint where someone misrepresented themselves.
Okay,
So
thank you, John. Thank you.
you can
Thank you.
rescind, you can, city council, you can rescind this sale.
At
That's
this point,
just
I believe
not
we're
accurate.
going to move on to the next item. The city council
Yep.
is taking no action, correct?
You voted?
Thank-
I'm sorry,
thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed the vote.
There is no vote.
So wait, so there wasn't
Thank you,
a
John.
call
Thank
for-
you.
There wasn't a call for a vote? There
No,
wasn't?
there wasn't.
So, well, the
Last-
great news is
last-
this is being recorded, and I think it's gonna be online. So I just want to know how we move forward without a vote.
No action in it. You don't have to vote to do nothing. Okay, let's move on to the next item. Item number 6, EDA update. At this time, we have a Jordan Grossman, our Economic Development Director, and she has 4 different items, and we're actually looking for 4 different motions that this involves. Jordan?
Yes, we are. Good evening, everybody. We had our EDA meeting earlier this month with a few recommendations for you. Number 1, EDA recommendation would be a yard or exterior improvement of the week campaign. You should have something in your packet. Here's a little picture I made up to put in the press and online. And something to hopefully encourage residents to clean up their yard at the same time as there are other efforts going around as far as cleaning up the neighborhood. So the only cost associated with this would be $388 to go towards a weekly winner. And we'll give whoever cleans up their yard $25 a week.
I like that.
Awesome.
I'm going to approve that.
I'll second.
Is there a second?
Kurt seconded.
Oh.
We need someone
Motion
here to
second, discussion.
We need someone here to second rather than.
Yeah.
How's this gonna work? Is there gonna be,
Because I wasn't able to publicly post that Kurt and he's not in a public place, I need somebody present to second it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
thank you.
Kurt can just be involved in discussion.
Yes,
We have to do a roll call vote. for everything?
no.
Okay. Okay, we have motion second. Did you have a question, Steve?
yeah, how's this gonna work?
People can send pictures of a yard that maybe hasn't looked great in the past. And they see, wow, someone really cleaned that up. They can send a picture of a yard to me with just an address, any other information they have as far as like the owner is great, but I can find it. So an address and a picture of the yard, they can send it to me, text message, email, drop it off here. And then I thought I'd bounce whatever pictures I get off the EDA board and get their opinion, but at the end of the day, I'll pick a yard and pick a winner. And we'll give them a local gift card to a local
Okay,
business.
I just wanted to know how it's gonna work.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed, the same, motion carries. Next item, Bridge Center request. That was in your packet also?
Yes, the Bridge Center has been busy trying to fundraise some dollars to get to move their progress forward as far as completion of the Bridge Center, which would be a youth center in the basement. Event senior space upstairs, possibly a commercial basement and some office space available for public use as well. Stacy Almaraz and Alex Oman are really working hard to lead that project, and I've been assisting them throughout, trying to see if there's ways to tie in the city into the project. I've asked them when they've asked about city dollars being utilized in the past. I've suggested that they fundraise some money before asking the city to be a funder of the project. And as you can see, they have fundraised a nice amount of money so far, $85,000. They are still falling short of what they need to complete some mold removal and landscaping that would cause the mold issue to go away. So they came to the EDA board and asked about some designated dollars the city's had for a community center in the past. There's roughly $55,000 set aside for that. And after communication with the EDA board, had conversation about asking for 33,000 of those dollars to be given to the Bridge Center once their nonprofit is complete, which should be in the next few months. And then we would have some stipulation saying that if their project fails, which I don't think it will, but if their project were to fail, those dollars would be needed to be given back to the city. So there's money set aside for a community center that you had set aside. And the ask would be to give 33,000 of those dollars towards the Bridge Center project, with the contingency that the project is not successful, the money is due back to the city.
And that's how you would like the motion to read, correct?
Did we find out that we're able to do that with those funds?
Yes. Yep, I talked to the league and they steered me to some on some briefs online, I guess, and so both Lance and I, Lance and I and Jordan looked over them, and it looks like because it's a senior citizen center, a community center, and a youth center, we are able to use those funds for that.
The EDA board, but it is all for it, and we're bringing it forward as a recommendation to you.
Okay.
I haven't been in that building for a whole bunch of years. I'm really uncomfortable with sticking with an old building. Basements are just not something you want to do nowadays. So. But I haven't been in there, and we haven't really been in the loop on it.
I think that's intentional, because if the city gets in the loop, then the city has to, then you have to start following city rules as far as you have to have X amount of bids, and it gets ugly when it gets time to be doing. So I think the city has been left out of the loop intentionally, because it opens up a can of worms that they don't want to open.
But, I mean, you're talking $1 million, aren't you? I mean,
No, they've worked pretty extensively with a few different commercial builders, contractors, mold. What you want to call them? Mold experts, as far as what's going to be needed for that basement, and it's specifically the basement where the mold issue exists, and it's on a certain side of the building because there's landscaping issues on the outside. So we've had 2 different quotes and conversations with different businesses, and have a phase 1 remediation plan, and if needed, there is a phase 2 remediation plan that would include some more extensive work. Kevin, do you want to highlight anything else?
Remediation.
Thank you.
No, I guess my question would be, I mean, if we have that money set aside in a fund, if we're not, that has to be used for that purpose, correct? We can't just redirect it, or?
You know, that's a question I forgot to ask. I was just more asking if it could be used for that. I guess I forgot to ask if we could redirect it, since since I found out that we could use it for that purpose, so.
What's the timeline on this?
Full completion, and I think this is a very humble date provided would be January of 2028. They've really done not a lot this year besides having people come in and give them estimates because there is work that needs to be done to the basement and they've looked at some outside funding sources like grants, and with that, you really can't complete any work until you're awarded the grant. So they've been at a bit of a standstill. Once they receive, if they have the opportunity to receive this funding, they could get things going and start with molds and landscaping.
Time frame for the mold, having the mold and landscaping done is March.
Okay, so if we were to wait a month, to make a decision on that, would that be okay?
I think so. It's just, it's gonna continue to sit still until a decision
Yeah.
is made at this level.
Is there a way, I know there's a way, but could council, not as a group, but individually or whatever, have a tour then?
Yes. Anytime.
Jordan, is there a budget for the overall project to completion? Meaning, there's gonna be more than this money needed to get it up to.
Yes.
snuff.
They're working on an operational budget right now. Stacy was awarded a fellowship opportunity through a central initiative, and she's has a 2-year opportunity to learn how to operate and create a nonprofit board, as well as create a budget to go along with it and a business plan to have the entire building be successful when it's up and ready to go.
But the building can be used once this work is done.
Yes, they're not going to be in the basement in the condition it's in now. They're still gonna have to do some work. They need to have a capital campaign to get some more money in the door, but with this work done, they can be in the building safely.
Mr. Foster, you'd be more comfortable in waiting a month?
Well, I look at this list and I see that there's pretty good community support for it. Like Steve, I got some questions about putting money into a building because we went through this building, we went through the senior citizen center. When you get into those state rules, we're just sunk. That's not the word I want to use, but
But that's the reason they're trying to keep the city out of it.
right.
To avoid those state rules.
So we got a question about. We can use the money and I'm okay with that, I guess. But maybe we ought to take a look at the building if we're gonna put taxpayer money into it and
Okay.
just take a month to do that. And I'll make a motion that we postpone this until the end of August and then decide then. If that's okay with you,
That's okay. Yeah.
okay, all right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Well, I want to support Jordan, she does great things, but this one makes me really nervous. Like ADA, when did that come into play? Like the basement?
Yeah, they're gonna have the youth in the basement. There's 2 different entries to the building on the south and north side of the building. One on the street side, it looks like a better option than on the back side, but they're gonna have to take it all into equation, and they're gonna need a project manager, and with the funds they have now, it's not going to happen. The capital campaign is a great idea. They can't get that done either unless they have some more funds to hire somebody to be on the ground with them. I've helped them as much as I can within my contract with you. But those are all valid questions, and I think seeing the building could help alleviate some of those. And I can make sure Alex or Stacy are there as well.
Well, for example, Jordan, I was not in agreement of spending money on this building. And we stuck $1 million in interest. And you'd have a hard time really figuring out what we did. I mean, everything is so expensive now, it's just unbelievable. Well,
And then also, just a reminder that if you were to do it, we could have something written up, I could work on it. Bounce it off these two as well as the city attorney to have something written up that says if your project is not completed. That this money is due back to the city by estimated completion date or something like that. And they will have insurance in line to be able to feel comfortable with that contract.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same, motion carried. Next,
Next is Southwest City residential lots. I will talk briefly and hand it over to Lance. There are 3 lots on the southwest side of Pelican Rapids down Old Fergus Road that are owned by the city. Are in a residential area. And then from there, I will hand it to Lance about what it's deemed to be used as now and what needs to be done.
So these 3 parcels are city owned. I believe it was back in 1997 or something like that. They were tax forfeited back to this. So the city picked them up and they are for stormwater retention. There is some possible building sites on the southwest side. That's some higher ground. It's people are interested in because there's water and sewer. You can see the map here. So here's Old Fergus Road. Here's this alley here. This is just kind of a grass alley right now. And then there's a gravel alley here. So we've got water and sewer right up to this point. So it's been requested that we kind of pursue this, maybe put in 2, 3, maybe even 4 lots in this area because infrastructure is such a huge issue. And we actually have it here. So the process would be, again, just like we did with Mike Carlson's down there, we'd have to reconvey it back to the state. The state would get it to the county and we'd have to purchase it back from the county in order to be able to build on these lots, because right now they're deemed, or they're for stormwater retention. Now, a majority of it will stay as stormwater retention. We still need, obviously, this whole area here is still low land. We've got our stormwater coming through here in the ditch and it eventually goes to the river, but I mean, all this is a low area, of course, so.
So where exactly would the 3 lots be?
Well, possibly 1 or 2 off of Old Fergus Road, actually. I mean, we could do something in this area here, and then maybe 1 or 2 off in this area here. I don't know exactly where they would go, or, I mean, we'd have to have surveying done and Apex engineering. I guess that's the request, is whether you'd want to pursue this and put some money towards some planning and see what can be done there.
back and they give it back to us.
What's that? Sorry.
Do you remember the timeline, how much time?
It was a few months. Several months, 3, 4 months process, but.
Can you show the map of the drainage? Unless you guys know.
The map of the drainage, yeah, let's see, I just have to do a new share here. Right here. So the red lines are actually our stormwater lines. They come through here. And that's a lot, and they're catching everything that's coming. And some of these catch basins and stuff on the street. It actually outfalls here where there's a drainage ditch. You can kind of see it in through here. And then this is kind of just the retainage area here. And then there's actually a pipe that goes down through here to another ditch and it eventually gets to the river.
City-owned property with infrastructure relatively close. So I believe that there's some planning dollars set aside that could cover the costs of having Apex tell us more about them.
Do we have somebody that's interested in them now?
There's a list of people who are interested in building in town, and we could look at how we could entice people to acquire a piece of property and what incentives we could use to help them get something built, but I have a list of current residents as well as who would be interested in coming and building.
I like the idea. Could we ask for an estimate from Bob or what?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Well, there's not a lot of cost to this, right?
The reconveyance, there's no cost. So if you could if you want to pursue it some, you could approve me starting that reconveyance process, and we can get some preliminary, just some planning numbers from Apex Engineering on how much it would actually cost just to put something together at least, and then we could go from.
We're not gaining any tax dollars on them now, as is, anyway, right? So
No,
why
it's
not-
all city.
Why not start the reconveyance process and have city property?
I'll move that Lance starts the reconveyance process.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, discussion. Discussion, remember Kurt, you can enter in discussion anytime. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same, motion carried. Next one, EDA officer appointment.
We have had a vacancy on the EDA board for quite a while. Reverend Alex Ullman with Faith Church has expressed interest in participating in the Pelican Rapids EDA, and this is his letter of interest coming to you with the recommendation from the EDA board.
So we approve. Oh, that's one motion.
For a second,
Second.
motion second, discussion. 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 Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same, motion carried.
Do we need to make a motion to have Bob do an estimate for that, or was that included in yours?
Was it?
I typed it in.
All right.
It was true. Okay, thank you.
Covered it.
Thanks, Jordan.
Item number 7 and 8, Chief of Police Todd Quaid is going to speak to both of them. The first one is Police Chief job description revision, which was on your desk here this evening. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As far as the change in the job description for Chief of Police, what we're really looking to do is include the role of emergency manager within that job description. Talked to the fire chief, talked to Lance, being the only full-time first responder for the city administratively. It fits well into my role. So we're just saying to include that in my list of duties. I've had that role in one capacity or another for about 14 years, so it's not outside of my wheelhouse. First ask. Any questions on that?
Any questions?
I move to approve the amending or the addition of emergency manager to the job description of the chief of police.
Second that.
Motion second, discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same, motion carried. Item number 8 is police personnel. There's 2 bullet points there. New hire and sergeant. First of all, the new hire, chief.
So page 2 there, is a new hire. We have a conditional offer, right now to a young man. Part of that conditional offer to the officer is, he has to pass a background, he passes psychological, physical, standard things for becoming a police officer. We've begun that process. Just coming to the council in hopes that that whole process goes smoothly and again, the conditional offer's already been made. If that all goes well, hopefully we can make that a formal offer and not have to wait till the next council meeting, so.
Move to approve.
Second, motion second, discussion. Discussion. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same, motion carried. Next item is Sergeant.
As the council's aware, I came to you, I think it was last month, with the job description for sergeant and the council approved that at that point. It was one of those, tasks that when I started, we were gonna try and make happen is that we bring back the structure of some of these positions within the police department. First step in that process is to promote one of the current officers to sergeant. It was posted, we conducted interviews, the position was offered to Officer Iverson. He's accepted the position as offered, obviously pending approval of the council. He's been here for a real long time and he'll fill this role really well.
I move to approve. Fine.
Yep.
I'll second that, motion second. Discussion. 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All the same, motion carried. Anything else, chief?
That's it. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Item number 9, appoint budget committee. In the past few years, it's been Councilman Foster and myself, and I would serve there again.
I will do it one more time.
That's my motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Discussion. Discussion. Lance, do you have anything to add there? Started in August meetings?
So, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, a couple weeks here, yeah.
Yeah.
You know the routine, Steve. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 10 is Houston pay request number 1 for DNR First Street River Rock project, which was in your packet. That's a new project that we're looking at doing by the old American Legion. Lance, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so technically it's going to be a kind of an extension of the Rock Rapids project. So it, the state's fiscal year ended June 30th, so they did a little bit of planning and some surveying and things for the rock riffle project by the Legion Bridge. So this is just a pay request to get it in that fiscal year, so then I can send it into the DNR for a reimbursement, because they'll reimburse all these costs, so.
No expense to us.
Move to approve pay request number 1 for DNR.
Second, motion second, discussion. 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 Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 11, LCFC Technology Service Agreement, which is in your packet, and Lance is going to speak to that.
So this is a technology agreement with Lakes Country Service Cooperative. There has not been an agreement in place before for technology. We have one for safety, health and safety and things, but not technology. We've kind of just been billed as they've come out, you know, they do an hourly rate and things. So they want to get away from that. They want to have a contract in place, for multiple reasons, I guess, but a main benefit to that would be they could be more proactive rather than just reactive. When we have troubles, we call them and then they fix things. They could be more proactive when they have this contract in place. They can do things more proactively and prevent some of these problems. This will be for the year, it'll be $1,800. That's where their starting place is. We can revisit it after a year if we're not using it as much. It might go down. If we're using it a lot more, it could go up, but that's kind of the spot that they put us for right now, and I think that seems to be fair. I guess, is there any questions on it?
Since you've been here, how many times have you had to call them for service?
Oh, I would say it, I mean, we're at least once a month, if not more, twice a month maybe on average. They've done a lot with the, I've had to call them a few times on the, and they helped set up the, like the webcams and things. There's been some banning issues, some other issues that we've called them on, some phone issues, and so it's, would that be accurate? At least twice a month since I
Yeah.
started, I'd say.
Sometimes they can just do it without coming out. And then sometimes.
They can
that's-
log right into our computers and see
Yeah.
everything with,
Yeah.
and they can fix a lot of things that way.
Is the response time quicker if you have an agreement?
I hope so. They've been pretty good on a lot of things, but they have been shorthanded too, so. But there's, Matt's coming actually tomorrow to do some things for the police department and my computer and we'll use them for budget reasons as well. I mean, so they can give us some advice on replacement of computers, what we should have for software and all that kind of stuff, so.
Well, how does that compare with the cost, say, in the last year?
What we've paid in the last year. So we budgeted 1,000 this year, I believe, and the reason they kind of want to get away from this because we've been getting a lot more than what we've been paying for actually, because they haven't been real good about charging actually, and they've done a lot of things as
Yeah.
they
it-
haven't really charged.
And we have paid more than the $1,800 this year, but I would say this year's not a good year because we got that new server this year. So that was more hours that they had to put in getting that server up to getting it all set up and everything. So that's not necessarily a good year to take that into account.
And you said we're one of the few of their customers that do not have an agreement?
Yeah, they're trying to eliminate all the hourly stuff and just have agreements in place. It's a lot easier for them, and like I said, they can do a lot more for us.
Kind of the trend nowadays.
Yeah.
So I move to
I'll second that. Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 12, we have bid on aeronautics grant. There's actually two different grants. I think we'll speak to this and probably just want one motion.
We'll need two,
Two of them?
I believe, yeah.
Okay.
I would like
Lance,
to.
Which one are you speaking to first?
So the first one, the fuel system upgrade. So we applied for actually 3 different projects through this grant through MnDOT. So the first one is for the fuel system upgrades. That's so we can install equipment for credit card reader. It'd be a new pump and everything. So pilots can just go and pay for their fuel and they don't need a key to get into the ND building. They don't need to call City Hall or anything. So the estimated cost for that was $30,000. The state will pick up 95% of that, so we'd be responsible for 5%. And then the other project is the updates to the arrival departure building. Replacing windows, flooring, outdoor lighting, things like that. The estimated cost would be $50,000 for that. So the total cost of these 2 projects is $80,000. The state would pick up 76,000 of that, and our cost share would be 4,000. So what we need right now is just, if you're interested in pursuing these, we just need a motion to pursue these projects, I guess, so. In the,
Airport fund, yeah.
You said we need 2 motions?
yeah, why don't you do some,
Move to approve the installation of the credit card reader fuel system project, right?
Second that. Motion second, discussion.
It's been long needed out there.
Oh, definitely. Now, these are the estimated costs. When will we know the actual cost?
well, we'll be working with SEH and hopefully having them help get better numbers and, yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Okay, the next, the other grant plans.
So that was for the A&D building interior and exterior updates.
I'll move proceed with, building interior and exterior updates.
So, motion second, discussion.
Do we get to see any plans for, I mean, have they done them already? Or have they-
The SEH, did a lot of the work and they don't have specific plans, I don't think right now, but they'll. It's basically just replacing for the A&D building, it's just replacing windows, flooring, and then some outdoor lighting upgrades. So,
Is it stuff we can approve or disapprove?
yeah, when it comes to that time,
Yeah,
you'll be
okay,
able to
okay.
pick out which, yeah, I would think, yep.
Discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All the same, motion carried. Item number 13, Midwest Regional Dam Safety Award. There was a letter in your packet. Lance, you want to address that, please?
Yeah, this is just an informational thing. So the DNR nominated the dam removal Rock Rapids project for an award from this Association of State Dam Safety Officials, and we were given the award, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of national recognition for that project. So it's just kind of neat to see that got recognized in that.
That's what there's an FYI.
Yeah.
I'm sure Kim will put it in the paper. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on, item number 14, wastewater treatment agreement between WCT and City of Pelican Rapids, which was in your packet, Lance.
Okay, so with the PFA funding for this 24-25 project, they are requesting that we have an agreement in place with West Central Turkeys because they're a significant industrial user. The agreement itself basically is if the turkey plant were ever to go out of business, they'd still be responsible for 62% of the debt service. It's just to protect the PFA to kind of help ensure that they'll get paid back. It's not a requirement, but if it is signed by the turkey plant, we would get a reduction in the interest rate and on the loan. So I don't know if the turkey plant was going to sign it or not, but I wanted to put it, since we're a month away again from the next council meeting, I wanted to put it in front of you, make sure your approval or approve it. So if they do get it signed, we can keep the ball rolling on getting the PFA funding finalized. So.
Would there be any benefit to Jenny O if they sign this and we got the reduction?
So that would be their benefit. If it would be a less of a debt service payment for the city, therefore it'd be less for them as well. It's not it wouldn't be a huge savings to them, but it would be something, yeah.
Okay.
Move to approve. Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same, motion carried. Let's go down to item number 18, Pelican Rapids Aquatic Center pay request number 13. Thanks.
All right, this is the pay request for the work done in July at the pool. Scott went through it and recommending payment, so pretty straightforward.
Second. Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All the same, motion carried. Item number 19, change request number 12. For the Pelican Rapids Aquatic Center.
All right, this is another interesting one. So the pump for the pump motor for the play feature and the pool needs some extra GFCI protection. So now the pump itself has GFCI protection built in it, but the state inspector, electrical inspector comes and says that protection is not UL listed, so it's not appropriate, or it won't pass inspection if it's not UL listed. So it come to find out, none of the pumps or they can't find a pump that has the protection that's UL listed, so they have to add this GFCI protection outside the pump in order for it to pass inspection, so it's something, must be fairly new because the pool designer and stuff has never had to deal with it before. We're kind of the first ones that has to deal with it. Fergus Falls is also dealing with it right now. They have to do the same thing. So they have to add this equipment in order to make it be able to pass the electrical inspection, so.
So just one pump?
It's just this pump, yes. It's the only pump that's for whatever the parameters are, it's under 60 amps. Apparently that's a threshold somewhere, so it's under that, so it needs this protection, and I don't get it all, but that's what the state inspector is saying, so in order for it to pass inspection, it's gonna need this, is what is the bottom line, I guess, so. And it's just, and so there's no extra labor or anything, this is just the equipment costs for this, that's on this change request, so.
Council?
I'll move we pay for this or approve this change request.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, motion carried. Item number 15, administrative report. Lance, that's you.
All right, since the last council meeting, I worked with the clerk and mayor to set the council agenda and prep for the meeting. Attended the Highway 59 108 construction meetings and open houses. Met with West Central Initiative representatives about the possibility of solar panels on city buildings. Met with MCMA members for our monthly Connect meeting, continued to work with the PFA to finalize funding for the Highway 59 108 project, completed the police chief's 6-month performance evaluation. Todd and I completed job interviews for the open police officer position and open sergeant position. Been meeting weekly with the library director and started addressing some of the issues brought up at the library board meeting. Contacted the League of Minnesota Cities Collaboration Services for help with the library issues. Met with Apex engineers multiple times for multiple different projects, attended the Pinewood Estates pre-construction meeting, met with Jenny O representatives about the wastewater treatment agreement the PFA would like in place. Attended a planning commission meeting. The planning commission will begin working on an ordinance to address the issue of commercial buildings being used for storage. Met with my mentor group this morning. And then I just have 2 announcements, I guess, so that those ultralight people that were here couple weeks ago. Apparently they're going to have some sort of a long flight or something, some sort of an event, and they'll be staying at the airport the night of Tuesday, August 6th. So just so you're aware, they'll be back for that night. And then I'm planning to be off next week, August 5th through the 9th. So any questions? 3 questions?
When are they gonna start the project at the end of First Avenue Southeast?
So there's a pre-construction meeting this Thursday for that, and they're hopefully going to start next week, but they have some product that is on order that they haven't got yet, so it might be pushed till the following week. So within the next couple of weeks, they should start that one. And it shouldn't be a long project, so that
They can start the that's
Pinewood, they started hauling some fill and stuff over there.
I'll take it.
Yeah, they've hauled a lot of fill over there already. So that has started, but they won't start with the water sewer stuff for another few weeks, the way it sounds. Yeah.
I should ask the chief this, but with this new hire, are we at full staff for police?
What we budgeted this year, we'd be at full staff, yep.
But how's the street project going?
I think it's going well. They're making progress. They're hopefully within the next couple of weeks for sure, they'll open up that south portion that they're tarring now. I see they're putting in storm sewer now downtown and by the VF and stuff. That's the last infrastructure to put in, so they should be able to get that back filled and packed in and ready for concrete again, hopefully in the next few weeks. But we'll have another meeting tomorrow, an update, so we'll know more tomorrow of what their plans are.
What would Tom be the one that would come here to kind of give an update on the project or? Who would, do that?
You want to do Rush.
Was that you? You, Mr. Liaison guy?
Rush.
We could get Russ or even Jason to come and. Would you like that next council meeting to?
You want to
Okay.
remember to ask them that?
Yep.
We're talking about your report.
Can we pass still, is there anything special in town?
Lock the doors.
I
Protect your
mean,
women and children.
MinDOT put out some public notices and things to, you know, if you don't have a destination in town, maybe use the out of town detour, because it will get congested, but they said if, you know, Pelican Rapids is open for business, if you have a destination in town, follow the in-town detour, but just be aware that there could be some backups and things like that, and if you have large campers and things, it might be a little tougher to get through town, but so we're trying to, you know.
Thank you. Thanks, Lance. Item number 16, mayor report, a few items, a complete street staff meetings on the 10th, 17th, 24th of July. Conducted the complete streets public meetings at the library in the 10th, 17th and 24th of July. Had a float in the Pelican Fest parade on July 13th. Attended the Pelican Rapids Housing Steering Committee here at City Hall on July 15th. Attended the Pinewood Estates pre-construction meeting on July 19th. Attended the ultralight fly-in at the airport on Saturday night of the July 20th. Met with Administrator Royson and West Central Turkeys on the agreement between them and us that we just talked about here recently. Had conversations with the mayor at the library on July 26th and yesterday, July 29th. I met with Administrator Royson to plan the agenda for this evening's city council meeting. Any questions?
Thank you.
Seeing no other agenda items, the motion's adjourned. Motion, second. Motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.